Hello and welcome to episode 21 of series 2 of the Engaging Internal Comms podcast. This is the show for employee engagers and internal communicators who like to keep up to date with all that is new in our profession. My name's Craig Smith from The Big Picture People. I just want to start by giving you a quick heads up on what we're going to be covering in the next couple of episodes. So in the next episode, which is episode 22 of series 2, on the 3rd of August, I've got an interview with Kevin Hall from Global Integration. Now, Kevin has been one of the preeminent experts in remote working for the last 25 years. Now, obviously, over the last 18 months, the world has caught up with him, and the work that he's been doing, particularly around engaging remote, virtual and hybrid teams, has really sort of become a priority for all of us. So Kevin's got some amazing insights into how he sees the world panning out and the way of working, the world of work, and particularly from an engagement and comms perspective. So I suggest you definitely listen into that episode, which, as I said, is coming out on the 3rd of August. And then the following episode after that, episode 23 on the 17th of August, is an interview with Neil Jenkins from Iron Mountain. And Neil's going to be telling us all about the challenges and the pleasures of communicating to a really large, complex organization. Neil's organization has 25,000 employees all over the world, and he's got some amazing stories about both the business and what it does, but also how they've engaged a very diverse workforce through some really innovative comms. So I look forward to that one, which is going out on the 17th of August. So just a final thing before we go into today's guest interview. Just a quick reminder, if you do know anyone who would benefit from listening to the show who's not already a subscriber, please let them know. Please send them a link to the this episode and any other episodes that you think that might be of interest to them that we have in our back catalogue. And the other thing is just to remind you that when I refer to the show notes in any of our interviews, I mentioned this on the last show, but the show notes are on our website. So if you are listening to this on iTunes or Spotify or any other platform, you will have some basic show notes in the actual text on the link or on the actual podcast that you have on your screen. But if you want to read the detailed show notes, you need to head across to our website, which is engagingic.com, where you will find all of the episodes, and this one in particular listed there. You'll be able to. There's a player where you can listen to it directly from there, or you can re-listen to it. But also underneath that, you will find a detailed set of show notes, which is all of the a kind of a written summary of the communication and the conversation that we're having with the guest, but also any of the links that I refer to in the show notes, you'll find them in there as well. So anyway, on to today's interview. Earlier on in season 2 of the podcast, we ran some short episodes around values and how you could create your values, how you could basically refine your organizational values, and then how you could communicate them, and particularly how you could use stories in order to bring them to life within your organization. You can find those if you look back in some of our previous episodes. But since then, I've been trying to find some examples other than our own client work of people who've been doing this within their own organization. Of actually identifying and really drilling into those organizational values, not in a kind of a wordsmithing way, but in a way that really kind of brings them to life, operationalizes them for people within the organization, and helps them to understand what it is we actually mean. Because at the end of the day, organizational values are there really just to help us to make more consistent decisions that are more aligned with what it is as an organization we believe in and what we're trying to do. So that's what today's interview is about today. I've found someone who reached out to me actually, who offered to tell this story of a really incredibly large organization, a very diverse organization with very complex needs and requirements in terms of that diversity and the scale of the operation, and how how they decided to launch their values in probably really challenging times in the middle of the pandemic, but not only launch them in a kind of superficial way, but actually really do some really good work in terms of bringing them to life and making them absolutely relevant to everyone within the organization. So that's what I've got for you today. Really, really great interview, one that I really enjoyed recording, and an interviewee who I think you'll find really interesting. So my interviewee today is Laura Colantuono. Laura is a multi-skilled communications manager with experience in large matrix and fast-paced environments. Laura is also currently International Internal Communications and Employer Branding Manager at Kraft Heinz. Laura's career started more than 10 years ago, and she has worked for organizations such as Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Fendi, and Harrods. Laura truly believes that employee engagement and internal communications drive a company's success, and Laura considers herself to be very lucky to have the chance to make a difference by sharing values, inspiring and engaging employees every day. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi, Craig. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And just for the listener, where are you based at the moment, please?
I'm currently in West London, where I live and where I spent the past 14 months.
Yeah, and I believe you're off to Italy tomorrow. Quite exciting after months of being landlocked in the UK.
Yes, 100%. Very excited.
Fantastic. So, really interested to find out more about your work and also about Kraft Heinz business. So, do you want to just tell us all about what your role is, and obviously for those people who don't know what Kraft Heinz does, a little bit about the business, please?
So, of course, I'm currently Internal Communication and Employer Branding Manager International at Kraft Heinz. Although the Kraft Heinz company is headquartered in the US with 38,000 employees globally, between white and blue collar, London is the HQ of International, which is the zone that comprises Continental and Northern Europe, LATAM, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, East, and our operations and R&D teams with over 16,000 employees. Yeah.
Wow.
And
it's a big 16,000 is a big responsibility. Yeah. So, and that's very diverse as well. Obviously, you mentioned there some of the geographies that you cover, so that must be quite challenging in terms of expectations and cultures and particularly from a comms and engagement perspective. Yeah.
It is 100%. And I'm happy to share more about my role. But just for, those who might not know what Kraft Heinz is, we are one of the largest global food and beverage companies in the world, and we produce some of the world's most beloved products. We have a portfolio of over 200 iconic and new brands in retail and food service channels. And well, just to name one, here in the UK, we are famous for our Heinz brand, of course.
Yeah.
With its sauce and dressings range, our iconic Heinz Baked Beans, pasta and soups, but the list of brands and products goes on.
Yeah.
A little bit more about my role. So my team's role as a central hub is to keep all our employees connected and informed through effective communications, ensuring clarity and consistency across the zone. And to do this, we work very closely with the corporate team based in the US and the extended internal comms team responsible for the local execution across our business units. And as I mentioned before, we have thousands of employees based across our offices and more than 40 factories. So such an amazing, diverse workforce, as you said, with different cultures, languages, and needs. And this is what makes my role, I think, so special and never boring, because, you have to be very strategic. This requires lots of planning, effective stakeholder relationship. And so we need to ensure, on one hand, that the global campaigns and priorities are really embedded in our zone and local plans and delivered timely with a common narrative, which is, of course, based on our company's vision, purpose, and values. And on the other hand, we set our own international internal comms strategy and plans that, it's aimed at driving our zone priorities, bringing our business strategy to life, and engaging our employees. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a challenging but super interesting role, because you have to have this deep understanding of our audience and local needs in order to develop and implement, campaigns that matter
Yeah.
to them at local level, and leverage on this wealth of cultures to ensure our communication is inclusive, that all voices are heard, and that we showcase the great work they do in each country.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. No, so anyway, so getting more specific then. So we met on LinkedIn and we had a really interesting conversation, and you actually reached out to me actually, because you said you really, this great story to tell about the work that you'd done around your values, and you mentioned your values there when you were talking about the business, about how important they are at Kraft Heinz. So do you want to just give us a little bit of background as to to the organization values, and also how they feed into your purpose, and actually what that purpose is as well. So there's quite a lot of information there. So purpose, values,
Yes.
tell us all about it. What have you been up to?
Of course. So, well, last year was very important turning point for us. So, after welcoming a new CEO and seeing through the first wave of the pandemic, we introduced our company's enterprise strategy and an exciting new purpose, which is "Let's make life delicious," and 6 core beliefs that make up our values. And I will take you through them shortly. But alongside those, we unveiled our vision to sustainably grow by delighting more consumers globally.
Yeah.
And together, all these elements serve as a North Star, really, for the company. They remind our employees individually, but also as a team, why the work we do matters. And our purpose is our reason to exist. So we are a food and beverage company after all, and a company of food lovers, and we provide consumers with products they love and trust. So here is what we do: we help feed the world, and we do it deliciously. But behind this purpose, there are these 6 core values driving us to live up to it and bring it to life, and they define our shared culture. So each of our 6 values start with "we."
Yeah.
And this represents an important shift. And I particularly love this. It's what we call the shift from me to we, representing, a commitment our people make to each other and to our consumers around the world. And I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that really showcases how company values are core shared beliefs. And the wording is so important for these values to really resonate with employees.
So just before we go into the values themselves, and that's quite an interesting shift then. So the shift from me to we, and how had your values been expressed before then? Was there a different onus or different emphasis on how you portrayed them in the past?
Yeah, on the individual mainly, right? So much more on the individual rather than the community, the group of people, like representing a group of people working together towards the same goal and the same purpose, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think now they really fit into our current culture.
Okay. So more of a collaborative emphasis rather than individualistic. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And sorry, again, just before we dive into the specific values, because I think that's going to be really interesting to talk about those. Your purpose as well. I guess that's really interesting. Let's make life delicious. Quite a lot of that's quite fun. It's quite again, I guess it embodies the the nature of your products is in that they are things that people add to their meals to make them more tasty, more delicious, more flavorsome. Absolutely. All of those sorts of things. So I think that's quite a nice how you've kind of captured that in your company's essence, I guess. Fantastic. Okay, let's talk more about these values then. So this is what I'm really interested in to talk about now.
Yes.
So I know we'll put these in the show notes as part of the transcript of our conversation. But do you want to kind of take us through them, maybe as a list, and then maybe we can talk about a couple of others, any that have been particularly relevant over the last few months, or any that you kind of sort of been focusing on. So over to you again, Laura.
Of course. So, well, we focus on all of them, but I'm happy to take you through each one. So first one is we are consumer obsessed. And of course, we put our consumers at the center of everything we do. We dare to do better every day, representing, our journey of continuous improvement and constantly learning and working to be better. We champion great people. we truly believe that as a company, we are only as great as the quality of our teams, right?
Yeah.
So, attracting and nurturing, developing talent is a priority. We demand diversity. We are in an inclusive workplace, and the diversity of backgrounds and perspectives really make us stronger, interesting, and innovative.
Yeah.
We do the right thing. So we do the right thing by our consumers, employees, partners, and the communities we serve. And last but not least, we own it. There is a strong ownership culture here at Kraft Heinz, and we really act as owners, making decisions and treating the business as if it were our own. So there's 6 amazing, great.
They're really dynamic as well. They're not just integrity and all the not if anybody's listening and you've got a value which is integrity. I'm not questioning that integrity is a good value to have, but I think they're very dynamic and kind of they feel there's a lot of movement associated with them. That they're not static kind of things that they're passive. They're very, very energetic, aren't they? I guess, which again reflects that.
Yeah,
culture.
They describe behaviors, right? How do we bring the purpose to life? So the wording is so important, as I said.
And how did you arrive at those? So again, and I don't want to go into a really long conversation about we had how many work sessions you had or however you arrived at them, but were they kind of crowdsourced from your people? Was it sort of a senior leadership thing? Was it a consultancy? How did you arrive at those as your values?
It was a little bit of both. As I said, we are on a journey of transformation with a new CEO, and we really wanted to embed them in the new strategy with the new purpose, the new vision. So everything that really sets us for success. And we just thought, okay, what are those values and behaviors that can drive us and they can make us better tomorrow, right? Where we want to go. But what is that thing that will take us where we want to go? And I think they fit. They fit really nicely.
Yeah. And so okay, yes, so that's good. So anyway, and I know as you and I know, values are all well and good if you can have great values, but unless they're actually out there in the organization, if they're not kind of like living, breathing things that help you make better decisions, then they're kind of not useless, but they need to be dynamic. So I know you've done some really good work around really bringing those values to life, and I'd be really interested to hear, and I know our listeners will, because I know a little bit about what you've been doing, but I think this is the meat of the conversation. So tell us all about how you've really brought those values to life for your people.
Yeah, so let me start by saying that we launched them in the middle of the pandemic, with the majority of our international workforce working remotely. So yeah, quite a challenge. So we clearly needed to move beyond only driving awareness as such into driving inspiration, right, around these values. So we decided to make it personal, really, and we launched this 7-month-long cross-markets campaign, which was launched with a video teaser and a call for nominations in July last year and ran until January this year. And to help land the campaign, it was really crucial to tie each value to an already important moment in the business, such as Pride Month for We Demand Diversity, or appraisal season for We Champion Great People. And each month we shared and celebrated the unique ways employees were already living and breathing the values. But this campaign more specifically had 3 core elements. So the crowdsourcing piece, employees were invited to nominate a person who exemplified the values, and then an internal judging panel shortlisted up to 4 candidates every month. And we relied a lot on our local country teams to really translate and contextualize monthly nominations and drive the engagement. And it was also, a chance for local markets to shine in front of the rest of the zone. Second element, storytelling, that did the magic. So the selected candidates were interviewed, and we created, these beautifully designed feature pieces, sometimes videos as well, and featured across all our internal channels. And the third one, amplifying. So the standout stories were then featured in special moments across the business, like quarterly town halls, but even externally on our company LinkedIn page, and used as employer branding asset.
Excellent. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a really nice way of doing it. I mean, we did a show in this in this series, episode 11, where it was really me just talking about how, storytelling is a really important way, I think, of illustrating the values. I call it operationalizing the values, because otherwise they're just kind of abstract. Even values as dynamic as yours can sometimes have multiple meanings to different people. But if we can give people a kind of working example, I mean, are you able to? I know they're into. I mean, you shared them on LinkedIn, so I would imagine so. I mean, it'd be good to maybe just to kind of illustrate maybe one of the values with one of those stories of of who it was and what they did and how you used that to kind of illustrate one of the values. Have you got one to hand that you or to mind that you can share?
Yeah. No,
yeah.
of course. As you said, I think, storytelling is really important and really make them real, right, to people. So
absolutely.
the reason why we chose this approach was because our diverse population is such a great asset, right? And we have unique backgrounds, different work experiences, and our people are very passionate about what they do, and we wanted to recognize the great work. So that's the reason why we wanted to tell their stories. And yes, they're all out on LinkedIn, but I think we started with Demand Diversity the first month back in July last year, and the first story we featured was this colleague working in HR in Egypt. And she told us the story of, how she felt really valued and cared for during her maternity leave. And she was actually hired when she was already pregnant. So she had this fear that, interviewing while she was pregnant would have, affected negatively the process. But instead, everything worked out perfectly. And, she loved the company. She joined with a great excitement, and that is so important, right? To really work on this bias, and I'm glad that she felt that way. So it was such a powerful story to begin with.
So that story was you and I think there's a for me, when you use stories to kind of illustrate things like this, there's you can, obviously you want to kind of tidy them up a little bit, but there's also kind of keeping that authenticity and not like, kind of, putting it through too many corporate filters. Sometimes the grittiness of it can be really where the power is, isn't it? And that sort of thing. Was that something that you tried to maintain, was the kind of, their tone of voice, the tone of voice of the person whose story it was? Yeah.
100%. I mean, we wanted to really show in a very tangible but yet engaging way how these values were embedded in our culture, and how, that they will guide us going forward, as I said. And I think to do so, we had to first articulate the broader definition of the values in a very simple way, right? And then show how our values exist in real life examples, and obviously always connect them back to the purpose. And I think what worked really well was really connecting them to a specific moment in the business to really make them real. And I think that at the end we had more than 20 personal stories, as you mentioned, and these employees are now a very important group of ambassadors to us that will continue to help us engage around purpose and values.
So you talk there about ambassadors. What's that? Because we've had another episode on this in the past about how, these sort of having these people within your organization who are your kind of, advocates. They're not, they're not managers necessarily. They're credible people who people trust and know and actually can be your key messengers. So what have you done with these ambassadors, and how have they helped you to continue this sort of narrative after you've done these, kind of the storytelling element of it?
Yeah, I mean, they are the people we go to when, we want to sense check, or we want, to go more deep into the value. We had this big virtual convention, global convention back in February. And we did this amazing video featuring all of them to really showcase how we live and breathe our values at a global level. So all of them were featured, and they were telling how they live the value in their own languages as well. So that, is an diversity and inclusion piece that I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And yes, they are the phases of the values, but obviously we have more than them, right? We keep telling stories about values on a regular basis, because we will not just stop here, right? It's something that it's part of what we do and how we do what we do, right? Especially in internal comms and engagement, right? So we have our 2021 internal comms plan, and the values are literally across all our months or our plans, and this is how we bring what we do to life. So yes, we will definitely not stop.
No, you're not going to stop there. No, fantastic. And is this something that you've embedded? I know the stories themselves. So because one of the things I've seen work really well is where we've helped clients with this as well. We've kind of encouraged them down this route of, unearth these stories and share them on a regular basis. Because again, it's a great way of kind of reminding people. Is that something that you feel now is something that the organization is used to doing now? So not necessarily having to go through you and your team to be able to do it, but getting into the habit of, locally, maybe let's share a story about one of our values. Is that something that's happened, or is that something you'd like to do in the future?
We do that. We recognize our employees based on the values on a regular basis. So whether it's a zone, quarterly town hall, or local town halls, we always have a segment dedicated to values. So we recognize and we shout out, and we really award our employees that on a daily basis bring them to life. So it's something really beautiful to see, the amount of people that recognize because they embed the values in everything they do.
Yeah. I remember we did some work with an organization, and we got them into the habit of, their management meetings, even just going around the table and just everyone kind of then, once they kind of knew it was going to happen, got used to and would prepare for it, but not over prepare. But they would, everybody, the meetings would start with, okay, let's just go around the table, tell a story about something really great you've seen this week, where someone has really been living and breathing the values. And it was quite contagious once you get that going. And again, it's just a really, really powerful way of just reminding people about what's important. So I think it's great when it becomes, it doesn't, as I say, it doesn't require you or your team to be able to do it. It just becomes kind of the way we do things around here. It's just kind of cultural. And I think it is really, really powerful. So anything else about the way you've been sharing your values that you like to share? I want a question really about, just kind of what you've learned as well. If I guess doing it in the middle of the pandemic, I don't know whether I'm sure that by choice that I know you did it. You took a brave decision there, but so what anything else about the program and how it's worked, but also, any key learning points that you could share with listeners who are maybe in a similar situation? Maybe we've got some values we need to reinvigorate, launch, etc. Anything extra? What have you learned, and any tips for anyone who's doing something similar?
Yeah, so I would say what worked for us was to really clarify the purpose first, right? So the why. Why, is your reason to exist and why you do what you do, and then the how. So how you bring this purpose to life, right? What are, the core values that underpin the way in which you behave?
Yeah.
And for us, we make life delicious by being consumer obsessed or doing the right thing. And that lead to the what, which is, the products and the service.
Yeah.
But once the values are defined, I would say make them personal. I think, that works really well for us. Don't just pick words that will soon become, wallpaper, right?
Yeah.
Connect them to practical real life examples of how these values are embedded in the culture, and involve employees, ask and listen, showcase how they live and breathe them, using their voice, the face, the stories. This will really resonate with people and inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, definitely. And again, any learnings, anything you would have done slightly differently given the chance again, or any kind of lessons that you've put in your learning log for next time you do some big campaign like this, or a big intervention like this?
I don't know how that would have worked in real, face-to-face
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love to go back and do it all over again,
Yeah.
in a different
A different
world
paradigm.
and
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, but
Mm.
I think we're, we got really good feedback, number of views on the intranet. So we really made of it a consistent campaign
Yeah.
across all markets, localizing it, translating the stories in local languages, using all the different internal channels, the town halls, the meetings. So it wasn't just an email, right? It wasn't just a nice designed emails with some words on it. It was much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that worked really well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think, one thing I think is a really positive just part of that story as well is that you didn't, it would have been really easy to defer that or to kind of lower your expectations, we're in the middle of a pandemic,
We're not going to do it. We're going to
yeah,
postpone
we'll
it.
put it back, or we'll kind of,
Yeah.
we'll do a kind of bit of a soft launch now, and then when everybody gets back, but you kind of just went for it. And I think, again, I think that there's a lot of implicit messaging in that about how important this is, because, I guess, more cynical people in the organization might have sort of thought, well, why are we doing this now? We've got in the middle of a pandemic. We've got people, who are kind of, but you and I think that kind of integrity and determination is part of the message, isn't it? So I think that's really important.
It was super important to do that at the time to, after launching the strategy and everything, to give clarity on, company's direction and where we're going and where we want to go or what we want to achieve. And that was really powerful, as you said. And also the external piece, I would say, worked really well. So, showcasing the stories on our external channels, and making people feel, proud and excited to be working at Kraft Heinz. That worked really well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, at the end of when we've just before we wrap up, I was going to ask you about any links. I mean, have you got any links on your external website to any of these stories that we could put in the show notes, just in case anybody wants to have a look?
Of course, our global Kraft Heinz LinkedIn page. All the stories are there.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll put a link into that into the show notes. So if anybody wants to have a look at any of these specific stories, they can. So that's been absolutely fantastic. A really, really heartwarming story. Really nice, positive story. I think coming out of all of the trials and tribulations we've been over the last few months, and a kind of really good example of how you can bring values to life. And again, as I said, it backs up a lot of the things I've been kind of espousing for a long while now, and it's nice to be actually bring that to sort of a real tangible example of a in a big, complex, diverse organization doing that really well. So thank you very much for that. So just before we wrap up, I'm not going to let you off completely off the hook. There's the kind of the standard question that I ask all of my interviewees at the end of our conversation about something that even people who know you quite well, maybe team members, maybe even personal friends as well, don't know about you. Or so it could be something you've done in the past, something you do now, but it's like it's a sort of secret that you've got, but something that you're willing to share on air with us. So over to you, Laura. What is your secret?
Well, not sure it's a secret, but some people might know that I was born in South Africa.
Okay.
But what they don't know is that the following day, the local newspaper published the news about me being the first Italian baby to be born in the town, in that specific town. Yeah. So I made the news on the first day of my life.
You made a splash. Yes,
I did.
Fantastic. So that's I didn't know that, so I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that. And so whereabouts in South Africa were you born?
Brits, near Pretoria.
Wow. And how did you end up an Italian in South Africa? How did you end up being born in South Africa?
It's all my dad's fault. It's all my dad's fault. So he, because of his job, we traveled a lot. So I was born there. Then we went back to Italy, and then I lived 10 years in Turkey, and then back to Italy. And, now I'm in the UK. So yeah, that's the story of our family, I would say.
Wonderful. So does that entitle you, if you wanted one, to have a South African passport, or
I could have asked for it. Yeah. I think now it's a little bit late. I think in my 88, when I turned 18, I could have asked for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I stick to my European passport.
Wonderful! Oh, what a lovely story. No, and the kind of reputation of being, you claim to fame of being the first Italian born in South Africa. Fantastic.
I'm quite sure. Not sure we have the piece of paper somewhere
to prove it. Yeah.
Prove
That's
the story I've been told, and I'm pretty sure there was a picture in it as well. So I need to look.
That's a good bit of research to do for the future. I think. Yeah. I'm sure now with the internet and Facebook and things like that, I'm sure someone would be able to. You'd probably be able to get it in relatively easily. Oh, that's sure. Wonderful. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, that's been absolutely brilliant. I was gonna put a link into your LinkedIn profile, so if anybody would like to contact, is that okay? Yeah, I know. Obviously, it's up to you to reply if you want, but I'll put your LinkedIn profile in there. Yeah, no, and I'll put a link into the company LinkedIn page, as you said, where these stories are, so we can have a look at them. So back off to Italy tomorrow. Whereabouts in Italy are you heading back to?
Rome.
Oh, wonderful! Fantastic. Oh, yes, you did. You told me it was Rome. Where you are. fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, I'm jealous.
After 8 months.
Yeah. No,
happy to see family and friends.
Yeah. Well, have a safe trip. Have a rewarding visit back home. And I'd just like to thank you again for sharing your marvelous story with us today, Laura, and much appreciated. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. So, thank you for listening to Engaging Internal Comms. Hope you found this episode useful. We'd love to get your feedback and thoughts about the show. So, and also any questions or ideas that you've got for things you'd like us to cover in future episodes. So you can email us at info@thebigpicturepeople.co.uk, or you can get in touch with us via the contact form on our website, which is engagingic.com. Also, you'll be able to sign up for our mailing list there, and we'll send you relevant news about the show, new episodes, and also anything that we think you might be interested in when it comes to internal communications or employee engagement. If you like the show and you haven't already done so, please subscribe to it via your podcast service. And also you can subscribe to it via the links on our podcast page, which again is engagingic.com. If you know anyone else who might be interested in the show, please distribute it to them. Please let them know about it. We want to try and grow a community of people here who are contributing to the show, giving us new ideas for episodes and things that you'd like to cover in future. So thank you very much.